We have Abhijit with us. He's been part of the EasyTab team. He was the co-founder of EasyTab before moving to WhatsApp. And the first thing I want to ask him is, I think something that a lot of us want to probably know is, how many good morning messages do you get on WhatsApp?
I definitely do get, first of all, thank you so much for having me here. It's always amazing to see what Bangalore can produce. I moved here 15 years ago and was part of the initial wave of startups. This was actually, EasyTab was my second. And to see kind of where this ecosystem is, companies like Razorpay doing these type of, what you're doing in business and what you're doing here is phenomenal. So thank you for having me here. I don't get as much as most people would think. I think it's, I obviously am part of a lot of family groups. I get a lot of bad jokes from my brothers and cousins and things like that. But somehow I've managed to stay under the radar on that. So not that many.
So how do you deal with the groups though? You just silently listen in on the chats, participate. How does it work for you?
A little bit of both. I'm actually, but by the way, this is my Facebook, Twitter, whatever it is. I'm one of these watchers and less of the more active people. So it's quite interesting and ironic that I'm at Facebook because I love listening and seeing what people are doing, but I'm personally not the person posting the first message of the day.
Got it. So I think the audience is probably very interested in kind of knowing, first of all, itself that where is WhatsApp kind of heading towards?
Yeah.
We've all seen how WhatsApp works. It's a contact-based communication channel. But some of the things that are coming out, if you can probably first help us understand, how is WhatsApp thinking of the next 2-3 years?
Sure.
How does the theme kind of look like?
Yeah.
That would be really great.
Sure, absolutely. So I think there's probably three main buckets. The model in our roadmap is evolving all the time, but India is our largest market, and so there is a lot of what's coming out of India that's going to drive a lot of the roadmap. I think first and foremost, we're privileged to have the user base that we have and the engagement that we do have. Our core focus always will be to make sure that we stick to the product promise and the product principles about simple, reliable, secure, private conversations. So you'll see a lot of investment in making sure that our engagement with consumers continues to deepen along those principles. So that's number one. There are things like features that may seem innocuous to some of us, but things like group opt-in came out this year. So these are small features that'll just enrich the existing experience that all of us are used to. So that's number one. We'll add more and more services. You'll see us try to focus and try and make sure that the organic nature, the very fluid nature of how you converse, it should feel very fluid. It should be almost, you should feel like you're not talking to an app, and that's really what drives the product team. So that's number one. Continued engagement and investment in what makes WhatsApp great on the consumer side. Number two, we are very focused on expanding the merchant side. So we do have a small business application that's out there. And we want to make sure that businesses can use WhatsApp in a much more structured and scalable way and an efficient way. Well, I'm sure we'll talk about that in a bit. So a lot of what's happened in terms of how businesses work together, how businesses communicate with consumers has been very, very organic. So we will focus on bringing businesses online, trying to find the right way for them to use WhatsApp in a way that's consistent with the way we think consumers want to be interacted with. So no spam, but at the same time leverage the power so that businesses can use it. And every business will want to use and communicate with consumers in a very, very different way. Third, one of the things that really preoccupies my mind is, again, there's so much organically happening that's great on WhatsApp. There's groups that we hear about all the time that are amazing. And again, these have happened organically. How can we help make it much easier for rural populations, farmers to communicate more effectively? How can we help spread education? How can we help with financial inclusion, services like payments and other kind of working with banks and other platform companies? How do we structure that so that we can really make an impact in certain areas? I think these are probably the three areas where you'll see us invest in over time.
I think the last one is kind of pretty interesting, right? You talked about healthcare and education and these sectors, right? Places where maybe technology hasn't kind of really gone very deep, but WhatsApp is still present.
Yeah.
Everyone has WhatsApp.
Yeah.
So are you looking at some kind of a structured approach to these industries, or is it going to be similar to chat-based approach? Is it going to be a solution for it in some form of shape?
Yeah, I think again, WhatsApp has just been organic. So there's many different, if we just talk about businesses for a sec, there's many different types of businesses. You've got rural, urban, you've got services, you've got retail, you've got organized, unorganized, large, medium, small, micro. And all of them have different ways that they communicate. So you have to really understand, if you really want to serve businesses and connect people in a very seamless or fluid way, you you have to understand how the businesses also want to interact. So we're looking at all sectors. Some, as I said before, we have a version of WhatsApp because we saw that small shops were communicating with customers. My mom still messages her local shop and says, please send up some milk, and it's all on WhatsApp. So how can we enable the other half of that to be very effective and continue to use WhatsApp? But as you go up and have different types of sectors, they may have different applications. They may want to use the API, which we have. So we want to not have we know that it's not a one-size-fits-all, and we're going to try and figure out, without getting overcomplicated and without breaking the consumer experience, how do we support this type of engagement.
When you start adding these different kind of use cases onto the application, it's a very probably natural comparison to be made with the likes of WeChat and what other companies in India have been doing. For example, Paytm went from transactions to chat, and over here we already have chat. So what's the thinking around the super app model itself? I know you've spoken about chat being the center thing, but a lot of these use cases could probably be brought out through super apps. So what's the philosophy over there?
You know, I think one of the things that has made WhatsApp great is just a singular focus on the consumer experience. So we, as I said before, our core product promise and our core principles are about private, personalized, secure, simple transactions. So I think that'll guide a lot of what we decide to do. We're going to stay consistent to that as our primary basis. If something can organically flow from that, so it does not spam, it is not one way, you're not kind of blasting people every day so that it turns into something that's really unusable, we won't do that. But we will try and figure out how we can kind of, again, enable the type of commerce that people want, not what the businesses want, what the people want, make it the most effective and efficient way. And hence, you could imagine chat-based commerce working. It already works on WhatsApp. So we'll invest there and make sure, again, it's part of the organic, natural fluid experience that everyone loves. We're going to focus on that and make sure that that core principle and product promise doesn't get diluted.
Before we get into the chat-based commerce and payments and everything, one of the use cases I want to ask you about is about the business communication. I mean, we're a company which has Slack, but still Indians have a mentality of defaulting to WhatsApp. And you see a lot of threads on Twitter saying that, hey, how many WhatsApp groups do you have for work? And a lot of people have their work happening on WhatsApp. So is this a space that WhatsApp is considering business communication anyway?
So, you know, it's just, and this is one of the great things about anybody who's been in products. You look for kind of the organic uses, and then you really know what a platform is doing and what your product is doing. So yes, I mean, obviously everybody, work and businesses use WhatsApp organically to make quick decisions. It's a very common and comfortable medium. You know, one of the ones that we've seen is, you know, the UP police. They coordinate in the field with their officers. This is an amazing story of just how you quickly need to make decisions on WhatsApp. Grassroots organizations. There was a huge, I think the world's largest cleanup of a beach in Mumbai was organized on WhatsApp. So there clearly is value to these type of groups. That said, again, the core is we want to keep it simple and personalized. We really want people to interact with people they know. We want the conversations to be authentic and organic and personalized. So to that extent, we will again lean in more towards keeping the core about personal conversations, personal groups, people you know. That's probably where our focus will remain.
Got it. Let's look at the SME, the way SMEs have been doing commerce over here. And recently you guys have launched the product catalogs on the platform. Can you just talk about the how SMEs have been generally organically doing business on WhatsApp, and what's been the approach over here? Because the catalog is, I think, one step in that direction. Payments obviously forms another major leg of this piece. So what's the thinking about adding support for SMEs over here on the platform?
Sure. One of the things that really excites us is the SME space in India. We have a role to play. As I said before, you know, just businesses use WhatsApp, and that communication happens. And when we saw that behavior, we realized that there was a need potentially for a version of WhatsApp for the business owner. So could we keep it very simple, make sure that it was still easy to use, we didn't kind of overcomplicate it. But yes, could we give you the ability to do automated returns and messages? Could we allow you to create a SME profile? You know, one of the important things for especially the unorganized sector, the micro SME economy that really is going to be one of the key growth engines for this country over the next 5 years. If we hope to get to a $5 trillion economy, this MSC economy is going to have to grow. And so we want to be part of that. So we looked at a couple things and in the idea of how do you make a small business more credible, easier for them to push product photos in a professional way to get people to buy. This was very important. We saw that come up. We also know that this isn't the product for, there's larger businesses that have much more sophisticated systems. So we also are very aware that this is a product for a certain sector. But by doing this, we know that we can impact their sales. So we've shown that we've done surveys of our business users that say that, those who use WhatsApp, over 80% have seen an increase in sales, a significant increase in sales by using WhatsApp. So we know that there's a value here, and so we want to, with a couple key tweaks, we can accelerate their growth.
To put on my product hat, I think the first problem that I see with the SMEs doing commerce through WhatsApp is in some way discoverability. While my contacts, if they're doing business, I can find them easily. But there are other SMEs who I may not be able to discover because WhatsApp is still primarily contact first. I find everything through contacts.
Yeah.
How are you looking to solve this particular problem if you have to kind of add more SMEs to this platform itself?
Yeah, I don't think we're right now, again, the same thing. You have to kind of balance all of the different needs. Our primary focus is going to be on the consumer experience. So for now, our focus is if we want consumers to interact with people they know and trust, it should be personalized. So that's going to drive, that is the primary focus. So if you have a business that you interact with, we want to make that conversation, that commerce transaction, much more frictionless for you. That's kind of where our focus on the business side is going to be.
Got it. So in terms of launching an SME business, I would still have to kind of focus on some of the other ways to initially create the word of mouth. And when I am in touch with them, then I can use WhatsApp to kind of
once you're connected and you're part of my network and I trust you, we want to make that experience and that transaction as seamless and frictionless as possible.
Got it. In terms of the transactions itself, and when we look at the payments lens and we look in a slightly broader way, payments forms your P2P side on your business side and everything, right? And payments to a large extent was considered solved in one way or the other. Then UPI came about and a lot of applications saw that it makes sense in P2P space. However, what we're kind of talking about in terms of commerce is that payments also forms a major part of commerce. It's in fact the biggest hurdle in terms of commerce, right? So when you talk about, let's say, payments within WhatsApp, again, is it from the angle, okay, it's still a peer-to-peer payment, or is there going to be an angle that it's a payment to a business that comes in?
I think, one of the biggest problems for businesses is losing a sale. So, you can interact in multiple ways, push a product, but if you have to move to something else that's to complete your sale. So first of all, if you have to move to cash, that's a huge drop-off. You've got to move to a different medium to complete your transaction. These are all drop-off points, and this is actually one of the reasons why Razorpay has been so successful. Like, how do we make the drop-off rate from intent to buy to completing a purchase as frictionless and as seamless as possible? But to that extent, the more you can embed literally one-click payments, the economy is going to grow. Individual businesses will see their sales increase. The MSME economy, which up until now has not had the ability for people to give them tools, ecosystems, platforms, apps to improve their business and efficiency, those will scale up. And I think what will happen is you'll see the sales of, first of all, the entire economy is going to have a digital footprint and come together. That entire sector is going to grow. Drop-off on payments will drop in the commerce flow. And then ancillary and tertiary benefits will happen. We will truly, if all of us here in Bangalore and other parts work together, we will be a key component to digitizing the merchant side and the unorganized side of the country. Once that engine starts moving, again, I think that our path as an economy to a $5 trillion economy will